It is pronounced Fowler. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the studio. It is Friday. I have almost completed downloading the tracks that you have sent in, so thank you for sending them in. I guess I might as well just drag these ones in and get started. Let's see what you've been up to this week. There we go. What do you think? Here, you want to see? I might just always have this now because I cannot be bothered to go find the license. And it's nice. I mean, I think Sparkosoft is a fairly small company. It's quite a niche piece of software to allow you to use a DSLR, or well, actually, this is a mirrorless camera, as a webcam. So you know what? I don't mind giving them a little bit of publicity for all of my 8 people watching. Thank you, Sparkosoft. Yeah, yeah, I'm a massive company, and I don't mind helping the little guys out. You know, it's the least I could do for all the success that they've brought me. Okay, this one is called Coke Zero Only Beat. All right, so no sugar. I don't know what that means in terms of the audio quality. Let's have a look and see if there's any sort of bad stuff happening here. Interesting, I changed the ratio at one point of the high mids. Huh. Okay, let's listen. Why is the kick and clap so small? Okay, so I like the riff at the start. I don't necessarily like this. Because it gets a little too much like, I don't know, it sounds kind of like Tupperware. Like the chord progression's a bit Tupperware. Like, hooray, we have Tupperware. I don't know why, but it reminds me of Tupperware. I think that the sound design is kind of cool. I like this kind of phasey bass sound. I like the melody or the riff that it's playing, except for that middle part. I don't really understand why the kick and the clap are so minuscule, yet the side chain is like, where's the rest of the sound? I hesitate to tell you to not do this middle part because whatever, it's your music, but I just find that this the first part was kind of like cool, and then it just gets a little too Tupperware-y in the middle. And then it gets cool again when it goes back to the riff sounds like kind of evil or like kind of badass, you know. And then it gets to this, and then it's like it's a bit of like a child's birthday party song kind of vibe. So that's maybe a taste thing. I don't really know, but that's my honest opinion. What I thought of it when I heard it. I don't know why. I don't know why it reminds me of Tupperware. Maybe because it reminded me of a child's birthday party or something, and people bring Tupperware to a child's birthday party. It's not really like the sound of it. Like, it doesn't sound like a plastic container. I'm not suggesting that. It just gets a little too like, hooray, Jimmy got a new squirt gun. Again, this is kind of just a rough idea. I like the first riff. I don't like the middle part. And I think that you need to have a bigger kick and a bigger clap to fill out the spots where the kick and the clap are supposed to be. And besides that, that's pretty much all I got. Okay. Oh, wow. A chord song. We haven't heard a chord song in a while. Unplanned meeting. Here we go. That last part's sick. See what the tempo is. Oops. Okay, I would say it's 120. You know, I was going to guess 120. I feel like chords tracks are always 120. You go to the link that's at the bottom and you submit it in the feedback stream thread, and then I'll listen. Let's see what I wonder if I change the arrangement around. Oh shit, that's the wrong spot. I don't know if it's going to work, but I really like this section a lot. I don't know, maybe, oops. To me, this section is the section of the song. I know that it almost seems like it's maybe like an afterthought, not an afterthought, but like a alternate bridge section or something, because it does stray a little bit away from the rest of the track. But once it got to that section, I wonder. I'm just trying to figure out how to get to there sooner. I wonder, let's try. I think you have to give yourself the musician's role in order to do it, which you do through the channels and roles. Oh God, it's been so long. I don't know. Maybe it just takes a minute. I honestly don't remember, to be honest. I just put the word honest twice in the same sentence. You can drop it in the you should be able to drop it in this one, and then I'll just grab it from here. It's not really usually how we do it, but I don't know how to explain to you how to normally do it. So here we are. I don't know. I kind of like getting into this section first better, and then structuring the track around that. And then this is almost like a B part. Because to me, the part with the arpeggiator almost sounds like an alternate section. Like it sounds like, or like the B part of the drop, I guess. It's not really kind of like a drop style song or anything, but I'm also, while I'm here, I'm trying to find the oldest chord track. Well, this one's from 2 years ago. Because like, I feel like, the affiliates you want to have. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll grab it. Let's see. I feel like Chord is doing a good job at maintaining their sound. It's a very distinctive sound, but the production quality is continuously going up. So this is one from over 2 years ago. Like, it's still obviously chord, but then it's funny how you can still tell they're the same artist, but like the production quality has just gone up quite a bit without sacrificing the sound. So I like that a lot. Anyway, I would consider treating this section as the main section, and besides that, I think you could. Obviously, you can hit the master quite a bit harder. It's not that you're trying to make a dubstep song, but like I got an extra 7 dB of volume out of it, and it sounds more glued together. So there's really no downside to hitting it with a little bit of a multi-band compression and then hitting the limiter a bit harder. There's really no downside. So why wouldn't you, sort of thing? You know, like at least to my ears, it sounded better when it was a bit more compressed. A lot of the times, you know, you kind of sacrifice audio quality just so that it would be as loud as the track that you're DJing into it. But in this situation, I think it sounded better the louder it went. So I would at least give it a shot. Okay, let's go to the next one. Let me grab this song real quick first, though. Never Mattered. I'm going to delete this one. Okay, this one looks like a bit of a sausage. 10 minutes beat contest. Oh, like you made it in 10 minutes? That's cool. Neo Decay.
Do you feel Neo Decay? Do you feel you're out of luck? Just a lot headache, you're dropping and not even the spot. Do you feel Neo Decay? Do you feel you're out of luck? Just a lot headache, you're dropping and not even the spot. Do you feel Neo Decay? Do you feel you're out of luck? Just a lot headache, you're dropping and not even the spot. Even the spot. In the
I agree. It does sound like a reasonable volume, which maybe is not a good thing for this style. So if this was made in 10 minutes, I would say you're doing pretty good. I think it's fun. I think it would work in a DJ set like that. I think what it's missing is effects. Like I don't think there's a single effect in the track, at least that I remember. And obviously, you know, if you have 10 minutes, you're going to try to get the track banged out, and the effects is kind of like a after the fact sort of thing. But is today going to be a bad internet day? Fuck. Okay, it looks good, but usually this is not an isolated event. Usually, if it messes up, whatever. We're going to pretend that it's never going to mess up again. Yeah, I think effects and kind of nuance, which is funny to say on a track like this. Yeah, no, it was me. My studio's in the middle of the woods, so my internet is shoddy at best during most of the times. We've had like 2 months of good internet though, so you know, knock on wood. Yeah, effects. I'd also kind of I like the distorted sound of the vocal, but I wonder if you could do some parallel processing, have the distortion still there, but have a bit of the clean vocal cut through, so it's a bit more like, I know what they're saying doesn't really matter a whole lot, but if you could get it so that it was a bit more intelligible. Oh no, I see red. Oh, orange, green. If you could have it so we could understand the words without sacrificing the sound of it, then I would say go that route, because why not? Why not? I like how it's cut up and it's like very robotic. I love the vocal though. I wish I could understand I think it's a female. I'm unstable. Yeah, no, I'm well aware. Yeah, that's what I think. I think if the vocals were a bit more understandable without losing that cool sound, and if there was effects. I'm still seeing red. And now I see green. Fucking hate this internet, dude. Yeah, I think that would be better. And then I think you could probably bang it a bit harder on the master, because like it's this style. Super hyper furry music. Wow. I've never heard that genre before. Anyway, I think it's cool. And yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Cobra. We haven't heard a Cobra track in a while, but it is very Cobra-ish. A little Sawyer too, but I feel like Sawyer is a bit more over the top. I was reading a comment. It's called Super Hyper Furry Music, which again, I've never heard of. And I definitely don't have an entire playlist that I've saved to my Spotify called exactly that. Okay, let's listen to the next one. This one's called Headlock Jason Remix. Jason is like Jason, but you're saying it funny. Jason. Okay, right off the bat, I mean, like, man, I get, like, I understand what you're going for with this fade in, but I think it's a bit egregious. You could probably get away with like this much of a fade in, still have the effects, and but not make us wait as long to hear the audio.
Distant flickering, screen of scenery, this weather's bringing it all back again. Great adventures, faces in condensation. I'm going outside to take it all in. You say too late to stop, got your heart in hand up. I don't believe any of it. You say too late to stop, with your heart in a head up. You know you're better than this.
I feel like you've got like this pad and the bass, and it sounds very soft and quiet. And most stuff in this sounds very soft and quiet so far. like everything just kind of sounds like this bed of like sound. So I think one thing I'd maybe try to do is bring the drums up in the mix, and then your saw sound, maybe like low pass it down and like distort it, or it just doesn't have quite enough character, I don't think. It just kind of sounds like this saw, almost like white, like this white noise, bed of white noise. So I like this drop, but I don't think that the vocal and the main the main synth, they don't really play nice together. They're both competing for my attention. So I would do one of two things. I maybe take the vocal out and just make the drop and use the vocal sparingly throughout the drop, or cut up her vocal and treat her vocal as like an instrument and use it less as a vocal and more as a sound in the drop. Because right now the drop kind of sounds like it's in this like kind of awkward position between a drop and like a B section of a drop where the vocals come back in at. It's not really making a statement per se. It's trying to appease everybody all at the same time. It's trying to have the vocals in it. It's trying to have I'm pretty sure that's the chorus. So it's trying to be like a chorus, but then also be a drop. And those two things are kind of different. Usually the chorus is like in the pre-drop section, and then the drop is just the drop where we have cool sounds, we cut up things. It doesn't mean that a drop can never have vocals or anything, but right now this sounds like it's just kind of halfway between a chorus and a drop. And when I'm trying to listen to the vocal, all I can hear is the wee of the synth. And when I'm trying to listen to the wee of the synth, the vocals in the background just kind of muddying the waters. So I think you got to pick one or the other. You got to have sections dedicated to this is the drop, and then sections dedicated to this is lyrics that the person should be listening to, and not do them at the same time. And then the next thing I would say about the mix is that the kick, the snare, and the sub bass are all kind of at one level, and then everything else in the track feels a little bit underneath those things, especially the kick. Yeah, the kick, the sub, and the snare. I'll play it again and pay attention to how loud those three elements sound, and then listen to all the stuff that's underneath it. So that, to me, that's a mix thing, and you say more so balancing than mix. Yeah, sure. I mean, like I guess when you say balancing versus mix, the balance is like how loud each element is compared to each other, and the mix might entail things like the EQ, how each thing fits frequency wise and loudness wise. So there's a bit of a difference between between a mix and a balance, I think, is what you're trying to get at. And I do agree. I mean, like the sounds that are in there, they sound good, but the loudness of each of them compared to each other, there seems to be some discrepancy there. So that's what I would do. I would two big things, maybe three. The part leading up to the drop, everything is just a bit too soft and non-confrontational, and I think you got to get a bit more bold with your sounds and less nice. And then I would take out the vocals during the first part of the drop, or treat them as if it's not a chorus. So if you cut up the vocals and use it like an instrument, make the drop a drop. Just embrace the drop part of it, and then bring the vocals back in at some point where you can pare back the drop. So you pull back the drop a little bit. Maybe you take out the screaming synth and you have the vocals there instead, because those two things are like they are as important as each other. And when you have them together, it's a bit confusing as a listener to know what I'm supposed to be focusing on. And then the last thing, which I'm currently I love my internet. Fuck's sakes. Anyway, yeah, that's what I think. Okay, cool. Freeze. Here we go. Let's listen to Freeze's Southern Skies, The Last Light. Okay, this is the one you sent in last week. Okay, no, you got to submit them on my Discord server. That's just how it works. So I like these drums better. I like the drums that you put in here better than last week. I think they fit better. There's two things that I'm thinking right now. A bit much on the reverb. It makes the track kind of like, it fills in too much of the empty spaces in the track with just kind of noise. So I think the reverb's a bit aggressive. And the other thing is the kick drum doesn't feel like it's part of the rest of the drums. I feel like the kick drum feels like it's low passed, and then the rest of the drums are obviously not low passed. So, oh, wow. So to me, the kick drum just doesn't feel connected. And I'm not even really sure. I mean, it has top end. I can hear the transient if I listen for it. I wonder if it's just maybe a bit too, like, maybe a little too loud, and maybe more so just a little too long. I maybe just try a few different kick drums and see if one of them, the kick just feels different than the rest of the drum. The rest of the drums feel like they're coming from the same place, and then the kick drum feels somewhat like transplanted to me. Let's keep going. I feel like if the kick drum, the tone of it was just shifted up, like even maybe if you take your current kick, shorten a little bit and tune it up a few semitones, see if it feels like it moves up into that same frequency range as the rest of the drums do. Because to me, yeah, they just feel a bit too, they just feel a bit too disjointed. That's like a sentence you would say to warm up before you're like going on stage. They just feel a bit too disjointed. Holy man, that's hard. But I definitely think that this is a big step up in terms of this track. Like these drums, they feel more cohesive, like a drum beat and not a collection of drum samples. And yeah, like the reverb that's on the hats and stuff, I think it's just a bit overbearing. Yeah, I mean, like all your other elements are super spacious and reverbed out and stuff. So when you have that much reverb on the drums as well, it almost just sounds like there's reverb on the master bus because everything has reverb. So it might be kind of cool to have all of your sounds luscious and reverbed out and spacious and whatever, but have your drums a bit tighter because then we have some contrast between some tight sounds and some loose sounds so that the loose sounds feel loose and the tight sounds feel tight. And having that contrast is nice in the same song because it allows you to appreciate both sides of it. Right now, everything just kind of feels like it's washed out. But it's sounding a lot better to me. One thing to keep in mind is the kick and the snare, right? They don't have to be the same volume. They don't have to be the same impact. But the top drums and the chicka chickas and all the percussion and stuff, they can kind of be thinned out and they can be like maybe weaker sounding, but the kick and the snare should have a bit of a relationship to each other. And right now I don't feel like they do. I feel like the snare is very high end only and the kick is very low end only. And there's not a lot of overlap between the two of them because when you have a drum beat, the main beat is made up of the kick and the snare and everything else is there for groove, for, you know, and I'm generalizing. There are some situations where maybe this isn't true, but for the most part, with a drum and bass track, you've got a kick and you've got a snare, and those two things are creating the beat. And they should have some overlap in like frequency, the content of each, so that they play off of each other and they form a complete package. And this one, again, the kick is just a bit too maybe deep or something, and it feels almost low passed, and then everything else is way up high in the frequency range. So I'd dry out the reverb, and I'd either try maybe tuning the kick up, shortening it a bit and whatnot, or try just audition a few more kick drums. That's my suggestion. But other than that, the track sounds cool. I like the chord progression on this one a lot, and the way that the melody stays and the chords move around the melody. It's really nice. So good. I know that's probably cheese doing that stuff, but yeah, the track is good. I would try those things and see where it gets you. Okay, this one is by DJ Matthew. It's called Tell Me. This is another situation where do we need 5 seconds of cymbal swell or like nobody wants to listen to a reverse cymbal. Let's be honest here. Nobody. This is just kind of serving no purpose when it could just be. Or if you want, maybe this instead. Maybe. The wave candy, I don't know what it looks like on the stream, but on my computer it looks like one of those stereo vision things where if you look at them and you let your eyes relax, they create like a hidden image. What are they called? Stereoscopes or some shit? Okay, sounds good. I'll keep that in mind. So yeah, I mean the reverse cymbal thing, whatever, easy fix. Just there's really no reason to have a 4 or 5 seconds of reverse cymbal. People are just going to skip the song. The next thing I would say is that I like the drop. I like when it gets into it. But everything up to that feels incomplete. It's not giving, the introduction isn't really introducing any of the sounds. I mean, okay, the whatever, but that's there, but that's not even in the drop. So you didn't really introduce the song in the introduction to the song. You just kind of made a DJ intro that you could mix into the end of another song, which is important, don't get me wrong. But like there's a vocal in here. Why aren't we teasing the vocal in the intro? Is there any... Like I hear that synth back in there now, so like I wouldn't take that synth out. I'm just saying there's not enough introduction being made in the introduction to the song. It's just kind of, it almost is just there because it has to be. Because like if you think about the introduction to a song, what is it? It's you trying to sell the listener on listening to your song. It's like an elevator pitch almost. It's you saying, "Hey guys, here's what's in store." You know, you're teasing elements that are gonna like, "Oh man, that synth sounds sick," or "Oh man, that vocal is dope." Like you're selling the song to the person listening, and I'm not talking about selling it in a financial way or selling it in a I want to get streams kind of way. But what I'm trying to say is you're trying to tell the listener you're giving them some foreshadowing, some idea of what the song is going to sound like when it gets into it. Now, again, this is a generalization and it doesn't always have to be that way. But I think an introduction should serve a technical purpose. You're doing that by giving the DJ, it looks like 16 bars of intro. That's the technical reason why this intro exists. But what's the creative reason? There's kind of two, right? You need to have an intro technically because you can't just drop into the drop of the song. That wouldn't work. So there's a technical side of the introduction, but then there's the creative side. Okay, I have 16 bars. What can I do in these 16 bars to hook somebody, to pique somebody's interest, or to create some curiosity that I will then fulfill when it gets into the song? And I think you kind of stopped at the technical side of it for the intro. You didn't really get too creative with what to do in the first 16 bars of the song. Is this the part that you're talking about where the sub bass is really, really loud? Because obviously the sub bass is too loud. Right, this section to me isn't serving a lot of purpose. Again, it's similar to what I was saying back here. This sub bass is right now all I'm hearing. Like if you look on the frequency analyzer. Your sub bass is 0 dB. Your sub bass is as loud as it can be. And then the rest of the song we'll just average out and say it's minus 25 dB. So the rest of the track is 25 dB underneath of the sub bass in a section that isn't even a drop. So I'd probably, I don't know, this section, it's okay. But it doesn't really add a whole lot. It's just kind of like I need a section between my drops. Yeah, I mean, like I like this drop. This drop is sick. There's more bass than the instruments. Yeah, I mean, it's more bass than anything else. It almost sounds like a mistake. Like I straight up thought that this was the part you were talking about where the synth was too loud. But like if I just I mean, I pulled 30 decibels out of the sub range, and to me, now it's kind of at a decent spot. Okay, anyway, that's you. I think you get the point. I don't need to beat off a dead horse anymore. The other thing, I have been hitting. Yes, I have been. Thank you. I appreciate you noticing. I wonder what it'd be like if I went back like 3 or 4 years ago and looked at a stream of myself. Anyway, the bigger problem isn't just that the fact that the sub bass is too loud. I think that the bigger problem is that this intro doesn't really have anything for me to sink my teeth in, and I'm kind of just waiting for the next section. So you have to put. I know it's hard as an electronic musician to treat the breakdowns and the build-ups and the intros and stuff like that with as much importance and creativity as the drop section, because we all just like the drops. You know, like we want to make sick sounding drops, and sometimes the parts in between the drops are just kind of like an obligatory part of the song. We're like, whatever. But I think you need to put the same amount of love and care into the non-drop sections as you do the drop sections. Your drop sections sound good to me. Like I really like them. I don't really hear a synth that sounds too loud here, but I do hear that kind of like the that clap thing. Very quiet, very, very far back in the mix. So I think you have the bread and butter of a techno song here. BX5s, those are good. Do you have a sub though? Because they're only 5-inch speakers, so they don't have a lot of low end. And your drop section actually doesn't sound like you mixed without a sub. It sounds pretty good. But that breakdown section here, maybe you just weren't aware. Maybe those speakers weren't giving you a very good picture of what was actually happening. But anyway, yeah, I think you have like the drop sections are good techno drop sections, or like the rolling techno. But the other parts just are a bit lacking in, I want to say, creativity. They just kind of, to me, the non-drop sections feel like they are just there because they have to be. So you got to figure out some way of, and I'm making assumptions here. Maybe you love working on breakdown sections and you love working on introduction sections, but I'm going to assume that that's not the case, because it very rarely is the case. But you have to figure out a way of finding the joy of writing the non-drop sections. You know, maybe listen to some songs that you really love in this genre and see what they're doing to keep the listener engaged. Because even in a DJ set, like, I'm trying to imagine myself at some sort of like show or festival or something, and I'm trying to imagine this section coming on for this long of a period of time and me not being like, maybe I should go to the bar. You know, like I feel like you would lose me at that section because there's not enough cool things happening. It's just kind of like a really loud bass, an arpeggiator, and then kind of like some more or less bare minimum build-up drums, you know, like snare, 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 like that sort of stuff. Like those are all kind of bare minimum things that have to be there. There's nothing in these sections that I'm like, oh man, that's dope, you know? But yeah, I think you have skills. It gives me a headache, so I don't usually have any ideas. They seem sometimes are kind of soulless. Yeah, so I think that's the problem. And you know, you got to address that somehow. You got to figure something out. Like, this is something for you to figure out. I can't tell you how to enjoy working on these sections, but if you listen to the songs that you really like, and instead of trying to dissect how they make the drop sections, which is probably what you're doing, maybe you should just set aside some time specifically to analyze the non-drop sections and try and just consciously focus on those sections and be like, I don't care that it sucks that I have to make this intro right now. I'm just going to focus all of my energy today on making this introduction the best that it possibly can be. And then you spend the same amount of time and effort on that as you do on the drop sections. And then all of a sudden you have a song that feels more complete and doesn't have big holes in it creatively. Okay, that's what I think. Cool. Oops. All right, next up, slap thing. I hope there's a slap bass. It's pretty cool. Let me go back here for a sec. Okay, so that offbeat snare, that dun dun cat, I would maybe hold off on that until later in the drop, because to me it kind of stuck out a little weird. Like it caught me off guard, but not necessarily in a good way. I also wonder what it would sound like if you didn't have reverb on the snare clap. Or maybe less. I mean, I'm not trying to turn this into like a song that I would make, but I don't think I would have reverb like at all on the drums on this. And maybe that's a genre specific thing that I'm not aware of because I don't know this genre that well, but I kind of feel like this would be better if the drums were super dry and then all of your almost psy-trancey sounds that are happening in the background, all those cool like sound effects and reverse things and stuff, if they were very reverbed out. What's up, Avenza? If they were reverbed out and stuff, but you had this like super like crunchy, dry, reverbless drums, I think that would be a really interesting sound. Because then the drums are like anchoring you in this like dryness, and then the wetness of the effects and stuff would pop even more. I like the drums here. They remind me of Josephelstein, or I don't even know if that's how you say it. Yeah, I can tell. I do think that this would really benefit from drying it out. Maybe not, again, if it was my track, I'd probably fucking can all of the reverb except on like the effect stuff, but maybe not destroy the reverb, but maybe pull the reverb back a lot, because there's a lot of like chunkiness and stuff that gets smoothed over by the reverb tail off of like the previous snare hit. You know what I mean? There's a lot of like cool, like intricate kind of ninja stuff happening, but the reverb smooths all that out in a way that might not be doing it any favors. The other thing too is like wow, how many times can I hit shift tab? The mastering on it, and maybe it's just not mastered yet, but the mastering really has a lot of room left. And then another thing too is like the complexity of it. There's a lot of really cool sounds happening, but it's almost a bit too messy in terms of like the complexity. Like going through and maybe paring back and controlling some of the chaos a bit more is probably going to benefit this track, because there's a lot of really cool sounds, but sometimes I find it's just a bit over the top in terms of like what's happening for me to try and keep up. If maybe you went and you cut out some of the pieces so that other pieces could poke through the mix in that moment, you know, like in that 1/8 note, that sound that pokes through doesn't have to compete with the other sounds, doesn't have to compete with the reverb tails that are happening from before when it, you know what I mean? Like maybe the snare hits, you got this big reverb tail happening, and then you have this quick, punchy, weird, glitchy sound, but that reverb tail is kind of diluting that punch that when you chopped it in. I don't know if any of this is making sense. It's hard to use English sometimes for me. And there's so many detuned elements that are detuned beyond unison. They're almost detuned into oblivion, you know? And I would use that sparingly, especially in this build-up. I get it. And I don't want to change your style or anything like that, but I just find that at that, especially this build-up section here, it just kind of got to a point where I'm like, is this music? You know what I mean? Like it got so detuned that I'm like, what notes are happening right now? And maybe that's the point, and maybe that's what you're after, and if you are, then you have succeeded. I'm not suggesting turning it into a very musical style. That's not what this music is, right? But I'm just saying that if you were maybe a little bit more controlled with the chaos and the detunedness and the reverb and the layering of the elements, if there was just maybe go back and give it a pass over to like clean it up, really is kind of, I guess, what I'm saying. Like, if you have this cool sound that chops in for a 16th note, but you've got all these other sounds that are also just kind of chugging over top of it, maybe just like slice them out or mute the channel. I do it all the time with Fruity Balancer. I put a Fruity Balancer, I don't know what DAW you use, but in FL Studio, say I have something that has a lot of reverb on it. I just put a Fruity Balancer on, and then I automate the volume, and then like kill the volume for one little, I might have the automation clip just do like a little boop to kill the reverb so that the sound can pop through, and then the reverb comes back in. Just stuff like that to have a bit more control over, again, the chaos. Because on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of like some of these sections with that you're basically at like a 9 during some of these sections for a scale of 1 to 10 on like chaos and just like noise. And maybe at certain moments you could pull that back to like maybe like a 6 or a 7. And all of a sudden it's still crazy. It's still wacky. It's still dark and weird, but it's just a little bit more palatable during those moments. And again, this is all subjective. This is just what I would do if it was my track. If you love pushing the envelope of like, here's some weird fucking shit all on top of each other and you love that, then that's the way to go. But I would at least give it a shot. But it's a very creative track. It's very cool. I like it a lot. The two main things I think is like the mastering. Obviously, you've got a bunch of headroom that you could easily get rid of without causing any sort of harm or damage to the sound of it at all. I mean, you have at least like 3 or 4 decibels of headroom here, right? That could just go away for no cost. And then the other thing that I would highly suggest you try is just change nothing in the song except turn the reverb on the drums off and see what it sounds like. And then if you like the way it sounds, but it's a little too dry, then maybe you know, if your reverb is here and off is here, maybe you just got to bring the reverb a little closer to being off, you know, just turn the wet dry knob down a bit, or the decay, make it a little shorter or something. I think it's going to add to the track quite a bit. If you can maybe take your main drums, send them to a bus, put a little bit of like clipping on it or something so that it's like a bit crunchy, but not obviously crunchy, but a little bit crunchy, and then take the reverb off of it and see what it sounds like in the mix. You might be surprised and you might hate it, but that's my suggestion. Okay, cool. Moving on. PGX From Here. Okay, this is going to be like a cool like deep house track, I bet. But are they clipped together or are they clipped separately? That's the question. Because I would suggest putting them in a bus and then clipping them together. Oh, okay, cool. Well, then maybe just take the reverb off. Okay, so I like this a lot so far, but the vocals, I didn't understand a single word of them so far. Which is a combination of them being tuned down, so they're a little bit harder to understand no matter what because of the formant shift and the fact that it's right. Their placement in the mix and the reverb. I was going to say the reverb. I might have to de-reverb the sample. That sounds scary to me. Really, the sample, did it come in a sample pack and it didn't come with a dry version? So you might have to adjust. Well, first of all, just turn them up in the mix. They can be louder in the mix. Might want to pull a little bit of the fundamental frequency out of them so that as you bring them up, that fundamental frequency doesn't like hit really loud compared to the chords that are happening. Maybe dip a little bit of the fundamental and put it up a few decibels and see if that helps. Maybe try to brighten them up a little bit, boost a little bit of the high mids and maybe the high frequency. If you can't, I don't know about de-reverbing them. That sounds de-verbing them. I don't know if that's going to work. It might just make them sound fucking weird. They might be clearer, but they might be weirder as well, but not in a good way. So you might have to adjust the track, pare back some of the stuff in the track to allow the vocals as they stand to work, to cut through more. You might have to adjust the track to the vocal, not the vocal to the track, if you know what I mean. If you don't have control over the vocal, then your options are limited. think that your kick drum might have a little bit too much of this in it. It feels a little woody, like a little knocky, you know what I mean? Little like that frequency range. And then your kind of like side stick clap, whatever snare sound, whatever the sound is, kind of resides in a similar frequency. It's not to say that you need to neuter it entirely. You don't have to get rid of that frequency, but I just feel like the kick is just a bit too present in that range. Dude, this track is so good. It really shouldn't have a sample vocal in it. I think you should work with a vocalist. Like the chords and the beat and the vibe of it is so good that if the sample vocal didn't have issues, whatever. But like, I don't know, if you're gonna try to like basically manipulate these vocals to shoehorn them in the track, maybe it's a sign that you should just write a song with somebody, because this, I can ask someone to remake the sample, or find a vocalist that you like and don't even show them the sample. I wouldn't recommend showing them the sample, because that's going to, all of a sudden, all of their ideas collapse down into what the sample is doing. If I have a demo vocal on a track and I want to basically get away from that vocal, I purposefully hide that from whoever I'm going to hopefully write the song with, because I don't want to. I can always show it to them after, but I can't unshow it to them. I can't make them forget what it sounds like, and it narrows their creativity down to what it does. And even if they change it a bit, it's always going to reference that melody a little bit. And that melody is great. And maybe that's the melody you want to go with. But once you show that to a vocalist, you have then kind of restricted what they might have, something better that you never would have thought of. And that's like their job as a vocalist, is to come up with those melodies and the lines and stuff, right? So my suggestion would be to find a vocalist that you think would sound right on this track, take this sample out and send them this track and be like, hey, would you be interested in writing something on this? And you might be surprised. And maybe they write something and it's not as good, or they write something, you don't like it. Then you could show it to them and be like, hey, this was the demo vocal. What do you think about this? And they might be like, oh, that's sick. And then they come up with some version of what you have there, and it becomes amazing. But again, you can't unshow a vocal to somebody. I think he said, all I want is you, but then I think that's all I could understand. And I do agree that this is a great melody, and maybe this is the right melody for this song, but I don't know. I think you're at the point with this style of music that the thing that's really going to take you to the next level is working with real vocalists that aren't from a sample pack. And that's not to say that vocals from a sample pack are worthless or useless. Like, they are in certain situations. They're great, and they can maybe help inspire you write a track. But the difference between like the next echelon of you being an artist in the industry is really working with vocalists, writing bespoke vocals for these tracks, and having a collaboration where you write a song with somebody and they write the lyrics and they write the melody, or both of you write the lyrics and melody. That's the next step up, because anybody can go and grab this vocal from a sample pack. Anybody can go and grab any vocal from any sample pack, right? And then all of a sudden they have a song with vocals, but it's not the same as like, I wrote this song with somebody. That is the top tier being a musician, in my opinion, is when you write everything, right? Okay, let's keep going.
All I want is you. You got me in my bed. Can't
I think another piece of mix advice is that your main kind of like a bass line slash kind of chord, but it sounds like it's just like maybe two notes. The bass, the sub of the bass is definitely loud enough, but the rest of that sound is not. I feel like it's a bit buried in the mix, and it should come up to compete with the other sounds. Like we have that fundamental dom dom dom, like the sub bass. Good volume. The I don't know what you would call that bass sound. It's like a harmonized bass or something. I can picture how to make it, but I don't know what the name of it is. That sound, the higher harmonics of it that give it that sound, those harmonics I think should come up, like the mid range and the high end of it. Yeah, to me it sounds like it's like a two-note chord being played kind of on a bass synth. Besides that, those few notes that I mentioned, I think the track is dope, and I think that you would be doing it an injustice by not writing or, getting a vocalist and collaborating with them on it. And just split everything 50-50. I would recommend that you always split everything 50-50 with the people you write with, or 33-33-33, 0.333 repeating on each, I guess. Because this is a piece of advice that I had to learn the hard way back when I was writing music early on, that like when you start to say you're like, well, I'm doing the production, because I know the thought process because I've been there. I'm doing the production, I'm doing the mixing, I'm doing the recording, I have the studio, I'm doing the mastering, I'm doing the mixing, like I'm doing all this. Why am I not getting a bigger share of the pie? But the relationship is the value, because you write tracks like this, you put it out. And when you go to the vocalist and you say, hey, I want 75% of this because I'm doing all of this work, it might be a totally reasonable request. Oh, that's great. That's great that you already are doing it this way, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people will take the position of, I'm doing all this work, I should get paid more. But the problem is that we don't get paid very often, so it kind of doesn't matter. Like if you make $1,000 on a track, you're doing pretty fucking good, right? And now if we're talking about going from 50% to 75%, and if you get it on a label, then that's cut in half again. We're talking about a difference of $250 in the scheme of things. $250 to make this vocalist feel like they're not an equal part is not worth it. The relationship is worth $250. If you actually run the numbers, and making $1,000 on a song is impressive, especially these days. So you make $1,000, the difference is $250. And now you have an awkward conversation where you're like, I think I'm more important than you, even if you are putting in more work or whatever. That's just my opinion. Some people might think that that's stupid because, oh, you have the studio, you have the equipment, you put all that money in, you are entitled to more money. But I just find that the negotiation of that is just not worth the weird vibes that it typically will come to. I've had a lot of people that I shouldn't say I have a lot of people. I have only a couple people that I've worked with that I'm like, creatively, this person is amazing, and I would love to work with them again. But they are such a nightmare when it comes to splitting hairs in terms of like, oh, they want 12% more. Like, are you fucking kidding me? We're going to make $100 on this, and you're arguing over $12. Like, I just won't work with them again because it's just not. It makes me feel weird and gross. Like, if somebody's in the room and writing the track with us, they get an even split. That's just my opinion. I know that this is unsolicited advice, but that's what I would say. Work with real people and pay them evenly. That's basically my advice. Yeah, the track is dope. Write it with somebody. Okay. This one's called Footsteps After Dark 14. Vocals coming soon, I promise, boss. Okay. Okay, before it goes to the next section, hold on a sec. On track. I'm trying to predict what the next note is, because there's been a piece of advice that I've been kind of not saying to Cheese for a while, and it's that the chord progressions always kind of seem to rely on similar intervals. Yeah, no worries, dude. Thanks for sending. Yep, that's the note. That's the note. I knew it was going to go to that note. This is a great chord progression. You send it, if you look at the bottom of the screen, it'll tell you how. It's a great chord progression. Don't get me wrong. I love this chord progression, but I feel like this is the Cheese chord progression. This is the one that Cheese always uses. And when you listen to each song in isolation, it sounds great. But say you were to listen, you put up all these songs on a Spotify profile, and then somebody is like binging through your songs. It's just, they're all going to kind of sound like the same song because they all rely on the same, at least ish, chord progressions. And maybe this is slightly different because the last chord changes a little bit on the second time around to lead into it again, or something like that. But for all intents and purposes, this to me sounds like the same chord progression that we've heard many, many times on other Cheese submissions. Now, the production on this sounds great. I mean, it's very lush. I even like the intro. The intro had enough cool stuff going on that I was intrigued, and I was patient enough to get to the next part. So I think that the production and the mix and all that sound great. And I'm not saying that you need to change the chord progression on this, but what I am saying is that you should at least be aware that a lot of your chord progressions sound the same. The intro has the root note going for a while, and then all of a sudden you go from okay. So it's always, so it's the root, it's the tonic, and then it goes up to the major third, and then I think it's basically like the major scale, and it just can get a bit much if you just use the same chord structure every time. I shouldn't say every time. I'm sure it's not every time, but it's a large majority of the tracks that you've sent in rely on this chord structure. production and sound design is really good though. Like the jingle jangly thing in it it really does sound good. And again, in isolation, this chord structure sounds great. I'm just like thinking long term and as a whole package of music that you're putting out, you got to be aware. I love how it was like literally exactly what I said. Like the second time around the chord progression adds a different chord, makes it a little different. Which is nice. I mean, this track is dope. Without having any other knowledge of past submissions, I wouldn't really have any issues with this. There's one thing that I do notice, like technical. I noticed it. I think right here. There's something with a very bright transient. Right there again. And even if you look on the wave candy, you can see how much that sharp line sticks out. It honestly looks like what I'm looking for in a knock signal from a knock sensor on a car. Where the rest of the track is smooth, but you have this one element that has this very surgically sharp, like transient sound. And I noticed it there, and then I noticed again when you had that low pass. I don't know exactly where I heard it. No, I think what it is that the sound, I think it's part of the plucky sound, the part of the jingly jangly thing. And I think it has that very sharp transient. And I'm trying to think of how I would even recommend fixing it. It's just, it kind of sticks out. Honestly, it sounds like the end of a loop that you didn't cut properly. And it has a little, like the start of the next kick. Do you know what I mean? Like if you cut it a little bit too late, or maybe the timing is a little bit off on the loop and you cut it at the end of the loop, but you get like 25 samples of like the start of a kick drum. You hear that little click that's very indicative of a sloppy cut on a loop. That's kind of what it reminds me of. And that's initially what I thought it was. It's not like a major, it's not like a massive problem or anything like that, but it reared its head mostly when the track was coming down with the low pass and everything was getting a bit darker and softer and warmer. And then it just, every once in a while we'd hear this like really sharp, like click, like transient. And to me, it sounded almost unintentional. But I'm kind of nitpicking at this point. I don't know why I said kind of. I think the track is beautiful. It sounds really good. And the only advice isn't on this track. It's on moving forward and your discography. It's more of a critique on Cheese's discography. Because if all of the songs start out on the tonic and then they go to the major third and then they go down a semitone or two semitones and then back to the root, like if the tracks are all structured that way, or at least the majority of them, the tracks begin to sound very, very similar. And they already kind of sound quite similar anyway, because they're all kind of like, they're like smooth kind of deep house tracks, or I'm not even really sure what the genre of this would be, but maybe progressive. I'm not really sure. But if they're all kind of like four to the floor, they're all about the same tempo, they all have similar sounds, and they all use similar chord structures, then all of a sudden, what's the difference from song to song? That's all I'm trying to point out. Each song on their own in isolation sounds great, but when you put them together, all of a sudden there's not a lot of things to distinguish one song against the other. That's my advice for the track. The track sounds pretty fucking good to me. I besides that small click thing, I don't really have any other production. Like, it sounds pretty good. It sounds really good. So good job on it technically. Just keep in mind that a lot of your chord structures sound the same. Okay. This one is called I've Oxygen. I Have Oxygen. Sleep Horu Remix. Okay, I like this, but I feel like we're having a... I feel like the track is shaped. Well, let's see what it actually looks like on this. I think the vocals reside very strongly up in this area, up in like the, I don't know, 4,000 and up. A very kind of heathen, same question. I don't know if I know that song unless it's the... Is it the one by not Imagine Dragon, or what the fuck? I don't know what song that is. Anyway, the vocal is very up here in the high mids and the high end, and like nothing down below it. And then the hi-hats are also very up in here, and then the snare is also up in here. So we have a up in here, up in here. We have a lot of energy up in that same frequency range. Now, I don't know if the vocal... Oh, 21 Pilots. Yes, I do know what song that is. Wow, it was a very aggressive point. I wonder if it'll focus on my finger. There, yeah. I don't know what's on the vocals on the front. Like, this is a remix, so I'm not sure if it's soaked in reverb. But the reverb isn't really helping the situation, because every time the vocal does an S sound or any sort of consonant sound that contributes a lot to that frequency range, the reverb carries it on for longer. So you get this bright wash of that frequency range, and then the reverb makes it last longer. So if you can dry the vocals out a little bit, I would do that. But if you don't have control over the vocals, what you do have control over is the track. So the drums, the snare, if you could maybe take the snare out of that frequency range a little bit, or I'm not really 100% sure, but all I know is that when I heard it, I'm like, well, that is a lot of high mids and high frequency. Like you can see it right here. Do you see this big bright like right here? That to me, it almost sounds like somebody had like a treble knob cranked on the stereo or something. It doesn't sound intentional. It sounds like a mistake to me. Yeah, interesting. Almost like scooped. I really like the plucky sound. The plucky sound's sick. The snare almost fades in with the vocals, both in terms of how loud it is and the frequency kind of response of the snare. It sounds kind of like artifact, like almost like an MP3 or something. I feel like it might be mostly the vocal, because the vocal also sounds like it's very compressed and it's fighting a lot. It sounds like it's fighting a compressor with the reverb before the compressor. So we're getting this strange pumping sound and the reverb is making it more obvious. And then it's also very high frequency up in there. Maybe it's mostly the vocal that's bothering me and not necessarily the beat. It's hard to say without hearing it without the vocal. I like the melody of the vocal, but I find that from a technical standpoint, I think the vocal is the weakest part of this track. The way that it's being processed, whether it's on the original or whether it's something that you've done in the remix, to me, the vocal is the weakest part of this. I think the track is cool, the pluck is cool, the beat is cool, but there's just so much compression and energy up in that 4 to 10 kilohertz range specifically that it just feels weird to me. So I don't know if that helps or not, but that's what I think. I think it's a cool track, but the vocals are maybe too reverbed, too compressed, and too bright / harsh, maybe is a better word. But anyway, I think it's cool. Despite the technical things, is there any way I can send my track? Yes. Do you see the words at the bottom of the screen? Okay, this one's called Never Mattered. By the way, I didn't mean that to be sassy. It's asking for money? What? What? No, there's no way. I don't. What do you mean it's asking for money? That is so confusing to me. I'm concerned for you. It shouldn't. It should just take you to my Discord server where you can. Oh, you want to send like a big file? Yeah, okay. Well, if you want to send a big file, I don't really know. That's probably the problem. Just send in a 320 MP3. But every promise just came undone. You love the chase more than anyone. I can still taste the smoke on your breath. So hear the words. Okay, I like this. Let me see something. But every promise just came undone. You love the So I think you have too much fundamental in the vocal. It's a bit like almost like she was eating the mic kind of thing. And that might have happened at the recording stage, or it might be some sort of processing that's happened after the fact. But if you just take her vocal and maybe pull somewhere between 2 and 4 decibels out of where the bottom of her vocal is.
But every promise just came undone. You love the chase more than anyone. I can still taste the smoke on your breath. Oh, so hear the words that you never meant. Oh, I built you up till there's nothing left, and I was the one who paid you debt. You were bleeding, I was your bandage. I was the fire you took for granted. Now you're right there, acting like I never even mattered. Oh, never even really mattered. Oh, never even really mattered.
I almost wonder if this is maybe a monitoring situation, because I feel like the whole track kind of has a little bit too much of this frequency range in it. Let me get back here for a sec. Okay, so from a production standpoint, I think that this snare is a bit like aggressive. Like, I feel like the snare that you use in the drop, you might just use everywhere. Because, like, the snare that's not in the drop is quite a bit louder and more, like, punchy and powerful than the snare that is in the drop, which seems kind of strange to me. And when I heard it the first, like, when I was listening and when the first snare drum hit, I was kind of taken aback. I was like, oh, that's a lot. Oh. FL. Oh my. I can't believe FL Studio just crashed. Never matter, and it's Rodney. Okay, hold on. Got a big jump scare on my desktop. Man, that's crazy. When was the last time FL crashed? Anyway, yeah. I think that snare is a bit too, like wow, a snare, when it could just be tighter, like you might just be able to use your drop snare throughout the track, and that would be okay. The other thing, I'm a little torn on the advice that I would give you based on the that low frequency thing, because at first I'm thinking, oh, the track has a lot of that low mids in it, kind of like the second to third harmonic of the track is like quite overrepresented in the mix, but I think her vocal is in the track the whole time. So maybe it is just the vocal. And, okay, let me load in I got 3 songs to load in. Maybe it is just the vocal that's artificially boosting that frequency range up, because you kind of cut it up and you're using it in the drop. All right, we got Rodney and... oh, man, Never Mattered. There we go. And... wait, what was the one I was just listening to? Shit. It was... how have I can't believe that I don't remember. What the fuck was that one just called? Is it this? No, it's not that one. That's a techno one. Dude, is it Never Mattered? Oh, maybe it is Never Mattered. Okay. Sorry, I'm dumb. And then I'll grab this last one too. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's a mix thing or if it's maybe her vocal and then her vocal is just used throughout the track. So because it's so abundant in its fundamental frequency, it's kind of imparting that onto the whole track because you're using it the whole time. Let's see if there's maybe a section that doesn't have it. Wouldn't the snare be a bit too much if I'm using it the whole song? No, I don't think so. I mean, I guess there's only one way to find out, and maybe you do use another snare, but I just don't think it's that snare, because that snare is just so like almost like a hip hop, like a Run the Jewels type snare, like this. Change it out to another tight snare. Yeah, you could maybe switch it up. I'm not saying you have to use the same one, but you might be able to. And sometimes I feel like maybe choices like this are made out of not necessarily a creative decision, but maybe, I'm not supposed to use the same snare because that could get annoying. But like, it wouldn't be annoying, but you think it might be annoying. Do you know what I mean? Like, you might be overthinking whether you need a different snare because you're like, I need a different snare. It's like, why? And you're like, I need a different snare. Like, the reason is that you need a different snare. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just think that regardless, whether you use the same snare or a different one, I don't think it should be this snare.
I still taste the smoke on your breath. So hear the words.
But again, these are all just my opinions, so you're allowed to disagree with me and you can be right about that. But just from my standpoint, the snare is just a little too Run the Jewels, like hard, like rap kind of snare.
My breath when the storm was breaking.
Especially considering that this part is kind of subdued and its energy level is kind of lower, right? It's smoother, it's softer, it's more intimate, and then you just have this like big snare hitting.
In mine, I can still taste the smoke on your breath.
I think another thing which goes back to something I discussed earlier in the stream is that the beat is really made up of the kick and the snare. Those are the two main characters of the beat, and everything else is kind of to create a groove and to fill in the spaces in between those things. And your kick is like really round, it's really deep, but it doesn't have a lot of that big punch energy that the snare has. So it feels a little disconnected between the kick and the snare. Requests. What I'm taking submissions, yes. But yes. I guess the answer is yes. I was going to try to make a joke out of requests, but I'm giving up on that dream now.
Never meant I'd build you up till there's nothing left, and I was the one who paid the debt. You were bleeding, I was your bandage, I was the fire you took for granted. Now you're right there, acting like I never even mattered. Never even.
Another thing too is like when you pull that fundamental out of her vocal a little bit, we'll be able to hear more of the song. I didn't even really realize there was a strumming guitar until she stopped singing for a second.
Never even mattered. Never even really mattered.
So her vocal might even be a little loud in the mix too for like these sections. Maybe not during the drop or whatever, but pulling the fundamental out will help quite a bit because it's really on top of everything else. But maybe even pulling her vocal down, or maybe pushing the acoustic guitar up. Maybe that's a better move.
Matter. Never even really mattered. Oh, never even really mattered. Oh, never mattered. Yeah.
I also think that maybe the side chaining on the elements is a little bit aggressive. Maybe it could be pulled back just a little bit. It almost reminds me of when I'm a passenger in a car and I've been in it for a long time on a long drive and I'm kind of fading in and out of consciousness, and the road noise is kind of like cutting in and out as I'm drifting in and out of consciousness. That's such a weird fucking analogy, but anyway, I don't know. I get it. Like that's kind of like a chain smokers style side chaining thing. I understand. I think it might just be a little bit intense where you have like these big moments. I mean, they're not big in the grand scheme of things, but like this like really quiet section rate because of the side chaining. And I mean, I guess it's not even technically side chaining because there's no drum there to do the side chaining, but you know what I mean. It's a cool effect. I just wonder if maybe if you just pulled it back a little bit so it didn't go quite as deep and quite as long, that's what she said, then it probably, I don't know, I think it would maybe work a little bit better to make the track feel less chunky. But yeah, the two main takeaways I would say from my point of view is that snare, switch it out for something that's a little more appropriate for the style and that fits the kick drum a bit better. And then pull the fundamental out of her vocal a little bit, maybe like 3 decibels out of that like 300 hertz range, wherever the bottom frequency of her voice is, and see how that feels in the mix. You might find that it opens the mix up a lot because that one frequency range was quite overrepresented. Besides that, it's a pretty cool track, dude. I like it a lot. Okay, this one is wow, holy automation on the master bus. Okay, this one's called Futk, I Think I Done by It's Rodney. That reminds me of that, it's not a Drake song, what is that song? That sound, I can't remember what it is. It's off of like a big hip hop song. I can't remember what it is.
Fuck up the club with this one. Fuck up the club with this right now. Fuck up the club with this one. Fuck up the club with this right now. Fuck up the club with this one. Fuck up the club with this right now. Fuck up the club with this one. Fuck up the club with this right now. Fuck up the club with this one. 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 Now fuck up the cow. Fuck up the cow. Fuck up the cow. Fuck up the cow. Fuck up the club with this now. Fuck up the club with this one.
Okay, this is what I think. I think that the drop being so dry and kind of simple and like, I think that that's sick. But I think that the stuff leading up to the drop should have a bit more complexity to it. Because then you really benefit from having like that kind of brutally kind of basic chunky drop like you have here. You benefit from it even more if the stuff leading up to it has a little bit more complexity, and maybe as it's building up, things are getting a bit more reverbed out, and the reverb is building, and everything is getting messy, and then all of a sudden, whoop, it goes to this like almost, I would call it like stupid sounding, but like in a good way, if that makes sense. Because I think that's what this is. I think it sounds stupid, but in a good way, and I like that stuff. It's like, it's almost like I don't know how else to explain it besides just kind of like dumb, but in a good way. But yeah, there's a section like here, like it's just a top loop and we don't have anything else there. And that kind of bothers me a little bit because I'm just like, am I really just listening to a top loop for a full measure or for a bar or whatever? I don't know. To me, it could have a little bit more complexity. There could be maybe a drum fill. Maybe there's a chop up of the vocal. You do have the vocal coming in only. Yeah. So you could probably tease that vocal in a little bit before it gets there. Like maybe low pass it and loop it. And at the start of it, it doesn't necessarily sound like a vocal. It kind of just sounds like a part of a loop or something. But as you open it up, you're like, oh, that's a vocal. And then it opens up. And then all of a sudden we get the full vocal. And then there's also zero effects. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Nope, there is a swoosh there. There's an uplifter there.
this right now. Fuck up the club with.
But like an impact here or some sort of down lifter, and every time I say that, it feels wrong to say. You know, like some effects.
Yeah, fuck up the club with.
Let me just see what happens if I can just like put I can just put automation on the master, and let's just see what happens if we do this.
Fuck up the club with this one. 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 Fuck up the yeah. Fuck up the yeah. Fuck up the yeah. Fuck up the yeah. Fuck up the club with this yeah. Fuck up the club with this one.
I gotta do it right though.
Fuck up the club with this yeah. Fuck up the club with this one.
You know what I mean? Like how, and I'm not saying this is the move, but this is in the direction of the move. To have it kind of. That's kind of the idea that I have, because then when it finally goes zoop to the drop, it's like such a big change. It's such a big moment. It emphasizes what just happened, you know. And you know, obviously you already did the automation on the volume to try and make the drop hit harder. You tried to sneakily reduce the volume of the track and then hit the drop harder by doing that. You could always, this is kind of achieving a similar effect. You know, you're creating this bigger, spacious, and you could high pass it as well, you know, just so that when it finally hits the drop, it's like this big change. It's a big you're trying to make a big moment. That's what a drop is. It's a moment, right?
This one.
Now, obviously, this is more of like a DJ effect that would happen while somebody was DJing the song. But just to demonstrate kind of my point again here, let's just like cut the lows out as we're getting closer to the drop.
This right now. Fuck up the club with this one. 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 Fuck up the yeah. Fuck up the yeah. Fuck up the yeah. Fuck up the yeah. Fuck up the club with this yeah. Fuck up the club with this one.
Now, one thing that kind of ruins this effect a little bit is that the drop.
With this one. With this one. With this.
The start of the drop doesn't have a clear like start. It almost, I think it's because this sound is so loud and so bright, and it happens on the second beat of on the upbeat. I don't really know how to fix that though. You know, like where do you put a crash cymbal is kind of the question that comes to mind. Anyway, I think you understand what I'm trying to get at. Let's keep going. I'd probably reduce the volume of that, because that very bright, harsh, high frequency sound that is super loud, I could only imagine in a oh, thank you. I could only imagine in a club with a big sound system, or in a club with a shitty sound system is the bigger problem. That sound, every time it happened, I could see people's eyes twitching each time. You know what I mean? Because it's such a harsh sound, which is okay, but it's also as loud as it possibly can be. So.
Fuck up the club with this one. 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 Fuck up the club with this one.
You put on your favorite shoes, or you put on your favorite jeans. You get into the mood. You pull up to the club. It's a long line, but you don't care because you can hit a don't outside those doors. And you get that feeling.
I also feel like your claps, like I feel like everything in this song maybe not everything. I feel like a lot of things in this song are at absolutely 0 dB. Like it's either they're there as loud as they possibly can be, or they are not there at all. That's kind of what it seems like to me. So there are some things like that clap that could come down, and like that, whatever that burst sound that I was talking about before.
And you get that feeling all over again, and you get that chill up your spine because the DJ is playing your favorite songs back to back, and you're not in yet, but soon you know you're gonna be. Oh man, what's that feeling called again? What's that feeling called?
Hit them with the sound of the bass.
Fuck up the club with this one. 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 Fuck this now. Fuck up the club with this one. Fuck up the club with this right now. Fuck up the club with this one. Fuck up the club with this right now. Fuck up the club with this one. Fuck up the club with this right now. Fuck up the club with this one. Fuck up the club with this right. Fuck up. Fuck up. Fuck up the club with this one. Fuck up. Fuck up. Fuck up the club with this right now. Fuck up. Fuck up. Fuck up the club with this one. Fuck up the club with this one.
It's a really cool song, dude. I do enjoy this one. And again, it's like, I wish there was a better word than dumb sounding, because it's not, because dumb sounds bad, but it's not. It's just like, sometimes I think I use the word blunt, like it's a bit blunt sounded. The production is maybe blunt. I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's not really much nuance. You know, like there's no nuance in this song. And I'm not trying to inject nuance in a place where nuance doesn't belong. I don't even think it's simple. I don't think simple is the right word. It's just, I don't know, chunky? I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it, but it doesn't really change my advice to you. My advice mostly is around maybe adding some effects, maybe adding a bit of complexity in the sections that aren't the drops, maybe turning down some of those elements like that clap and like this burst sound here. Oops. Just a little bit, because in a certain situation that would genuinely physically hurt me. Like there's a place in St. John called the Five and Dime, and their music is so loud and the speakers are at their limit. And if that sound came through those speakers at that level, I would probably leave. So it's like, or at least I would distance myself from the speaker, because I feel like that would just hurt. But besides that, it's a very unique track. I don't even know what the style. It's almost like, what is this style? What is this genre? It almost reminds me of like Moomba, but fast. It's like fast Moomba or something. Anyway, I don't know if any of those random thoughts that I had help. I don't know if this is Electro House, dude. This doesn't, I mean, like, I know it's got like the sawtooth chord thing, which maybe puts it in the direction of Electro House. But this to me feels a bit more like Latin American or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think that's why I'm leaning towards calling it Moomba, is because it feels Latin to me for some reason. I am not good at genres though. So, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, like, who cares what genre it is? I was just kind of curious if you had like some sub genre of a subgenre that this is, you know, it would have been an interesting thing to hear. Anyway, I think it's cool. Maybe that helped. Okay, last one of the day, I think. Oh, no, I got one more to grab. Evolute. Download my file. Hopefully quieter. Which one was yours? Was yours the adrenaline one? Because if it is, then yeah, you can. I haven't downloaded it yet, and you can send a new one. I'll listen to this one unless this is yours. In which case I'll download the other one and then you can upload it. The newest one. Okay, yeah. Just whatever. If you want to change something, then change something and I'll download it once you upload it. As long as you upload it before I'm done listening to this one. Okay, This one is called Sandcastle in the Rain by Saksham Mohan. Probably didn't say that right.
Oh, I'm trying to build a sandcastle in the rain, which is slowly washing away. It's like your love for me that is fading away. I look at all these people looking at me, laughing at me on what I'll do, thinking I'm just a fool to be with you. The sound of the ocean waters keeps me sane, helps me with the pain. At least somehow now I feel safe. Ooh, somehow I'm still building this sandcastle in rain. The sandcastle in rain. In rain. Oh, my hands are starting to get tired. I feel lost. Now thinking about the outcome. Oh, I'm trying to pick my heart that broke into pieces, just like the shells lying by the sea. Oh, the sound of the ocean waters keeps me sane, helps me with the pain. At least somehow now I feel safe. Ooh, somehow I'm still building this sandcastle in rain.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop here for a sec. Really nice. I really like the I like the vocals on this. Well done. Yeah, you can throw one in. I'll probably cut it off after you, but yeah, if you want to go onto the Discord and submit it, you can go for it. I think the biggest thing that I have with this track right now is I'm struggling to get it right. Mostly I think because I only have the master, I don't have the vocal. But the vocal, it sounds like you were maybe a bit too close to the mic, and it's very bass heavy. It's very the body of your, like the chest sound of your voice is quite loud, and I'm trying to go in and pull it out.
I see your eyes are
Trying to find a section that might be easiest to demonstrate.
keeps me safe.
But see, it's different. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's fine. But there's certain parts, like this part, for example,
Keeps me safe. Helps me with the
it's not as loud in that frequency range. But then I think maybe here.
When I see your eyes, I remember.
Yeah, do you hear the difference between this
When I see your eyes, I remember.
and this?
Ooh, somehow your eyes, I remember.
So I think that's another reason why I was having a hard time with it, is because each section of the song, almost not each section, but some sections of the song are very bass heavy in the voice, and some aren't. And I'm not sure if it was maybe you're closer to the mic than on one section than the other, or maybe you're processing the different parts of the song differently. But like the vocal here didn't sound so bad in the low end, but then here it almost sounds like almost objectively too loud in the low end.
When I see your eyes, I remember.
Like very resonant in. Yeah, right there. See, if I artificially just resonate that one frequency, and now I won't, but listen.
When I see your eyes, I remember those white lines. When I hear you cry, feeling comes, I wonder why. Unless the things they may change, say.
And that might be stopping you, because I think also the vocal isn't quite loud enough in the mix, but that frequency range is too loud in the mix. So because you have this big bump in that frequency range, it's hard to place the vocal in the mix properly, because if you pushed it up so that the rest of the frequency range was loud enough, that one low frequency would be too loud. So I think it's kind of you know what I mean? Like, I guess I got to do it the other way because it's reversed. Like this is the bass of your voice, and this is kind of maybe the rest of your voice. And it's like, you know, I'm exaggerating here, but say it's this loud, and you try to get the vocal up in the mix, but now this is too loud. So if you brought this down, maybe, you know, somewhere around here, then everything could come up without this being too loud, if that makes sense. It's hard for me to do in the master bus because it is kind of well, it's in the master bus. I can't just affect the vocal, and I can't just listen to the vocal so that I can make good mix and EQ choices by listening to the vocal. But the other problem is that it's a moving target, because certain sections of the song, and only you would really be able to answer this, you know, whether it's a processing thing or a performance / recording thing, some parts of the song don't seem to have that same problem.
I'm trying to build a sandcastle in the rain, which is slowly washing away. It's like your love for me that is fading.
Oh, fuck, I'm an idiot. Hold on. I'm like, why is this not affecting the sound as much? It's because I'm on the side channel. Hold on. This might solve things.
I'm trying to build a sandcastle in the rain, which is slowly washing away. It's like your love for me that is fading.
Okay, so this is kind of what I'm thinking for an EQ, at least to try. Dip out some of this low frequency out of your voice and boost up the high frequencies a bit. Something along the lines of this shape of an EQ just on your vocal track.
I'm trying to.
Now, I might have thinned it out a bit too much there.
I'm trying to build a sandcastle in the rain.
Hear how when I bypass this, do you hear how it's all of a sudden it's muffly? And maybe you didn't notice that it was muffly because you've listened to it probably a 1.5 trillion times. But if I go between this,
I'm trying to build a sandcastle in the rain, which is slowly washing away. It's like your love for me that is fading away.
There's also, I can hear a comp, like I can hear an edit.
Away.
That breath that comes in suddenly, you should fix that too.
Away. I look at all these people looking at me, laughing at me on what I'll do.
Anyway, that's, in my opinion, an EQ change on your vocal like this is at least a good place to start. The next thing that I would say is that the vocals aren't probably loud enough in most of the song. They seem to be under the mix most of the time. It's not a huge, like, I wouldn't boost at 8 decibels, but like maybe like 2 or 3 decibels louder, and maybe compress them a little bit more so that you can place them in the mix better. The more, like, if this is the quietest that your vocal is and this is the loudest that your vocal is, this is hard to place in the mix because it's a big target. But if you compress it so that the dynamic range is less, then all of a sudden you have an easier time placing that in the right spot in the mix. So a little bit more compression, a little bit brighter, a little bit less low frequency in the vocal. And then my next suggestion towards the production of it is OTT. That's a bold move. I wouldn't necessarily put OTT on your vocals, but hey, you could try it and see what happens. The problem with OTT is it's going to boost up the lows as well. And the vocals in the first verse is a second take. Maybe that's why it sounds different. Yeah, you could have been, I mean, you could have been further away from the mic. It could have been maybe a different day and your voice just straight up sounded differently. I'm not really sure. The performance of it and the sound of your voice, it doesn't sound like an issue, but you may have to process it slightly differently to get it to sound like frequency wise the same as the other takes, right? But regarding the production, I think that I feel like we're missing like some sort of, like, to me, I'd listen to some John Bellion if you haven't in the past. If you're not a John Bellion fan or you don't know who John Bellion is, I would listen to John Bellion and get some ideas. Now, his is a bit more like fancy woo-woo production, and I'm not saying that this should be a fancy woo-woo production track. I think that this should be probably a bit more stripped back like it is now, but I think it's maybe a little too stripped back, where we have those finger snaps going and there's like nothing tying the finger snaps together for long sections of the song. I feel like we're just missing kind of a cool percussive thing to keep the groove going in between those finger snaps. But yeah, I think it's a great track. I think that you did a really good job singing on it. I just think that with a few minor changes, your vocal will sit in the mix better. And then with a little bit of change to the production, it'll allow the listener to groove a little bit more, like it'll encourage them to tip their head rhythmically to your song. This was my first attempt mixing. Well, I would say you did a really good job if this is your first attempt mixing. Okay, cool. Now we're going to grab the last 2 of the day. The first one is Adrenaline, and apparently it's too loud, or was too loud, and now it isn't. Let's load that up. Okay. Here we go. And then while this is playing, I'm going to grab the other last one. Okay, sorry. Let me just undo this shit before I play your song through random Master Effects. Okay, there we go. Okay, this is cool. I like this drop, but I find that it's very scooped. And what I mean by that is that there's not a lot of connective tissue between the sub range and the bright stuff. It's like we got a bunch of bright stuff and we got a bunch of sub stuff, but there's nothing that tie those two things together. And you can kind of see it. See how we have this big amount of bass and this kind of, I mean, the high end isn't necessarily that big, but like this mid range in here, if I just solo it, might demonstrate it better. So let's say, let's go from like maybe, so this is an exaggeration, but it's not that much of an exaggeration. If I just don't even listen to, let's just do it as 3 bands, and we're going to turn off this mid-range. So that's obviously an exaggeration, but it's kind of indicative as to the problem that's here is this mid-range doesn't have enough stuff. Afraid of it sounding muddy. Yeah, and I understand that. I get you 100%. Like, that is where the mud lives. Well, I would say this is where the mud lives. It's more of like this. Wait, what the fuck? There we go. The mud is usually in this range, right? And we're missing kind of this range. It's not that there's nothing there. I'm not, like that's an exaggeration. But I do think that you have this sub bass. The sub bass that is a pure kind of sine wave. Could I drop some garage in your garage? You can, but this is the last track, or these are the two last tracks. So you'll have to wait till next week. Sorry. So yeah, you have this like extremely pure kind of sine wave sub bass. And then you have da-da, which is very bright. And then there's nothing in the middle. And there's ways of solving this. You can make your sub bass have some harmonics to it. Maybe the sub bass becomes a filtered square or sawtooth or something so that it's not just a single low frequency. It now has some spill that spills out over top of like into the next sound, and then that connects them a little bit. You could have another bass, like a mid bass that connects the sub. Maybe it's going da 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 da, and it's serving as a connective tissue between the bright bass and the sub bass. Maybe that's your only two options. Or I guess if the that synth, maybe it's high passed and it's high passed up at like 400 or 500 hertz or something. Maybe you could bring that down all the way until we hear the second harmonic. We don't hear the fundamental because we don't want to mess with the sub bass in the phase, but we get the second harmonic of that. I guess those are probably your three options of connecting the two. So far, I like this, but I think that's the biggest thing that sticks out to me is that it's very scooped.
Just for tonight.
That vocal is quite loud, and it might not be too loud, but the way that it comes in,
Just for tonight.
it kind of comes out of nowhere. So you could do something like right before the vocal comes in, at the end of the measure before that, maybe the sub bass drops out and we get a drum fill and then like a crash cymbal or something, and then the vocal comes in. You could also take the vocal and send that first little tiny bit of the vocal into a reverb and record the tail that it makes, the da, and then reverse that and use it as like a build into the vocal, just so that the vocal doesn't just like, whoa, damn, where'd that come from?
Just for tonight.
In fact, is there any effects? Not really. Okay, so this part's kind of cool, but to me, it just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, I don't really know how it relates to the rest of the song. It almost sounds like a sample pack, like demo song. You know what I mean? Where it's like, here are all the sounds that are in here. These are both cool sections, but I don't know that they really belong in the same song together. Why is this not just a dubstep song? I think the dubstep stuff is I mean, I think it's better than and maybe this is supposed to be like an intro or something, but or I don't know, maybe that's not supposed to be the drop, but to me it sounds like it's trying to be the drop until I heard that section and I'm like, "Oh, maybe this is the drop." I'm a little confused in terms of arrangement because this and this are two very different styles and vibes, and they just kind of happened in series. Like it was just like, here's this and now here's this. So they're both cool. They both sound like interesting, but I don't know about having them in this arrangement. Yeah, I almost wonder, I mean, that's not going to work like that. I don't know, man. I almost feel like that. Oops, shit. I almost feel like this is a dubstep song and this is the weird part in the start. You know what I mean? Like it sounds like it's a dubstep song with a strange part in the start.
Just wanna know.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I know that this isn't like a turn your snare drum down feedback. This is like a existential crisis feedback, because to me this section is interesting. Like these sections are interesting, but they don't feel like they're part of the same song to me. Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know. I don't think they belong in the same song together. Another thing I would recommend is that like you're kind of going left to right with that synth sound, and I find that is a bit of a, what's the right word? It's kind of like too gimmicky or something. The intro is just kind of thrown together. Okay, so this is an intro. So when I heard it, I thought that was the beat. Like to me, a trope. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost too novel or something. It's too like, woo, isn't this fun? I can pan things left and right. I think doing it during certain sections or maybe on like some sort of percussive thing is cool, but doing it with a main element to me feels like I figured out how to pan things. Like it feels a little too, it draws too much attention to itself, I guess, maybe is the thing that bothers me. It's like something that sounds like a production thing, and it doesn't really, to me, it's not a creative choice. It's I think it would be a trope if it was always done in this style of music. Then I'd probably call it a trope. But yeah, it feels too gimmicky. Like, yo, did you like the way that sound went left and right? You know, like it's like too like woo. Yeah, I don't know. To me, when I heard this, it was too thick to be not the drop, and it didn't feel like a build-up section, so I thought it was the drop. And then we got to this section, and then I realized that, oh, either that's just another drop in a different style, or maybe it's not coming across as a build-up, which it's intended to be. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of things to consider. I hope that helped. Okay, let's check out this last one. Double Dart. Is that when you smoke 2 cigarettes in a row? First of all, I don't know why we have this headroom. Headroom is good. I would do 0.1 just so that it doesn't touch 0, but anything beyond that is unnecessary. Did I actually make the same joke? I don't remember at all. Okay, I like this intro. I like what it's doing, but I do think that there has to be more development as we're 30 seconds in and things are slowly opening and slowly, like, there is some development, but we're 30 seconds in and I still don't really necessarily know what kind of music this is going to be. So like maybe like some sort of top loop or a little some rhythmic or, you know. Interesting. What is this click? You can see it very subtly, and I heard it. There's like some weird click happening. It's right here. It's actually kind of 2 clicks. Oh, wait, it's 2 clicks, but I think it's left and then right. So maybe if you have some stereoizer plug-in on some track, that narrows it down. I think it goes left, right. Okay, so I'm gonna stop it here for a sec. I like the melody. I like the chord structure. Sick. I like that a lot. I don't like this. I don't like that because it implies that something big is about to happen, but it builds up to a build up, which is confusing to me. I think you kind of have to pick one or the other. You know what I mean? Like, you know, maybe this, I don't know if this works timing wise per se, but I feel like you need to choose between doing that, which I never like these kind of things where there's a sound and then like a big pause and then something. To me, I don't know. That's not really my jam, but that to me is that's better to go into that. Now I think that it still should have some effects and there should be a bit more production surrounding it to massage it, to make it interesting and impactful. But to me, that is in fact, wait, what? Oh, hold on a sec. I have a better idea. Move this down. What if we do both? Oh yeah, no, I think that's even better. Okay, hold on. Let me figure out what the temp. What is the is it 140? It looks like it's 140 because it's lined right up. Oh no, never mind. Okay, if that's the start, shit. Actually, 150. Okay, thank you. That makes it easier. Okay, let's do 150. Yeah, that looks right. Let me just do like a rough sketch out of how I would do it if I were you. Now let's figure out where. Okay. Now I know that like you're gonna lose the thing with the guy talking about the sword or something, but I know that that's abrupt right now as is, and maybe you could string it out a little bit longer, but to me, this is a better direction of, as long as this has a bit more stuff to it and builds up a bit more, and then it's piquing our anticipation, we're excited. You know what I mean? Maybe like a drum fill or something, and then into it. Like get into it a little bit faster. What's up, Exicano? Exicano? No, Exicon official. I am stupid and I can't read. Anyway, something like that I think is the better idea, because the problem is with your arrangement right now is that you have this long drawn out build up, this thing that's kind of a fake out. We're like, ooh, something's about to happen. Then we have another long drawn out build up. And then we finally get to the drop, and the energy it's kind of weird the way it flows like that, because right now your energy level's kind of, I don't want blue, I want red. Red. Also on my screen, it's very small. So like the font, I'm just making excuses though. So your energy's kind of like this. And then when it gets to this section, we're like, oh, something's about to happen. And then there's a bit of a letdown here, and then we have to build back up again, and then we eventually hit the drop. So this energy management is not optimal. It's suboptimal, I would say. And I think that the way that I was fucking around with it might not necessarily be exactly the way that you should do it, but I do think that it is in the direction of the way that you should at least experiment with it. Save it as a new project and just completely, or render it out like this and cut it up and move it around and try some things. Okay, let's keep going. I also think you should at least try in the drop having your sub bass going down, like having it sustained, so that in between the kick drums we still have nice thick bass. Right now it almost feels like the sub bass is hitting with the kick drum going bump, 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 bump. And I wonder what it would be like if the sub bass was sustaining between that. And you would still get the kind of the weird triplet clunky feel by the offset hi-hat. But I think having that bass in between the kick drum will make the track feel so much thicker, because right now we're just getting little bursts of sub bass when the kick hits. And then in between it's very thin because there's really no sub bass. I mean, you can even see it in the waveform. So you can see this bass, and then here it's just brightness. It's not bass. And it's all about that bass, no trouble. Okay, let's keep going.
Switch.
I like the weird timing things. I think it's cool. I think this track doesn't have any effects in it, or at least not enough. I also think that there's not enough side chaining on, especially on that nasty bass. The nasty bass is maybe a little too nasty, and the fact that your clap / snare is also very nasty. And when they happen together, there's just like a lot of nastiness happening. So maybe try side chaining a little deeper, and maybe swap that nasty bass out every once in a while for like maybe find another bass that it could play with, so it's not just always hitting on that one. And maybe that's something that you don't do in this genre of music. I don't really know this genre of music that much, but I just know that bass is kind of unpleasant sounding, and I know it's kind of designed to be unpleasant sounding, but when you use it for that long of a period of time, and you're using it so frequently, then it's just kind of unpleasant sounding, you know? Again, effects here, effects would make a big difference. Like an impact or something. Again, effects. I mean, like, effects would do this a lot of good. I'm not a big fan of whatever is in the percussion track here, where it's like, it kind of sounds like, I don't know, a horse galloping, or maybe somebody running with some small pieces of wood in their pocket. Like, I'm not sure that it adds value. Yeah, it's a very interesting track. There's a lot of really great ideas in here. I think the arrangement there's some to be desired. Is that the saying? I think the arrangement could be better. I think, especially here, and also riser effects, down riser effects. What's the opposite of rise? Fall? A fowler effect. And then some of the other stuff that I don't remember that I said, specifically around, right, the nastiness of it. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of great stuff in here. I think that it could be presented a little bit more strategically, and I think that you really should consider doing something similar, at least trying something similar to what I did here, so that you're not building our anticipation and then kind of like faking out a couple times. And at a certain point, people are just like, just give me the fucking drop, you know, like stop faking me out, is what I would say anyway. And that's just me. Okay, cool. Thanks again to Sparko Soft. Still haven't found my license key. That's okay, because why would it matter? I don't know that this really subtracts any value from my stream. And I'm happy to use such a huge platform that I have on Twitch to really shed some light on such a great piece of software. I hope you all have a good weekend, and I think you did a great job writing music this week. So hopefully that all helps, and I hope that I see you next Friday. Okay, I love you. Bye. I'm muting the mic.